How's your week going so far? My name is Alicia.
I'm Nicole.
Why don't we take a little time away from the hustle and bustle of adulting and let's indulge our curiosities just for a bit and talk about killers, psychos, and the unexplained?
Today we are venturing to Alabama to talk about Daniel Lee Siebert and Thomas Warren Whisenhant.
Welcome to Alabama, where Thomas Warren Whisenhant decided to abduct and murder at least four women in Mobile County, Alabama, between 1963 and 1976. Thomas Warren Whisenhant was born on January 29, 1947, in Pritchard, Alabama. He was the last of four children born to Willie and Emma Whisenhant. He came from a low income family, which was ruled by his mother, a domineering woman who would constantly argue and frequently attack her physically weak and alcoholic husband, and who also encouraged her children to do the same. She would tell the children that since her father drank all their money away, that he was an electrician. That's the reason that they're poor. And she would have the children belittle him and hit him, as well as herself. Willie would often get drunk on moonshine and try to seduce his wife, who would always reject him. She did reserve her anger and abuse only for her husband, and instead spoiled Thomas, of whom she was overprotective. Thomas was made to share a bed with his mother until he was 7 years old, and then continued to share the same bedroom with her until he was about 16. And
Ew.
I know. And according to his sister, who also shared a bedroom with her father, she stated that Thomas had become moody and violent around this time. He was always under his mother's watchful eye, and according to psychologists, Thomas resented her for this. So, according to some other articles that I had read, like since his mom was so domineering, this made Thomas feel like his father was pretty much like non-existent functional male role model and would view himself as having like the same position. So there was also like a few other statements from Thomas about his childhood that would be like his grandmother would often put him in the corner, whip him for no reason. And then I guess when he was about 12 years old, he was sexually assaulted by two girls.
Okay, so now we have children staying in bedrooms with parents, not even of the same sex, opposite sex, which really wouldn't matter except for they were much older when this was happening, and that's weird.
Yeah. So pretty much all the women in Thomas's life, like well, the older women, he didn't really go into much detail like about his sister, but like
Right.
mother, his grandmother, they were very like abusive and domineering towards,
Sounds
men.
like that's where the mother got it from.
Yeah. So to him, he just felt like men were kind of like bottom of the totem pole, like didn't have much say in anything.
Gross.
Yeah. On May 6, 1963, 72-year-old widow Lexi Haynes was fatally shot in Pritchard. Police arrived at the scene and found the murder weapon in an empty lot next to the Whisenhant family home. Thomas, who was just 16 at the time, was immediately suspected as he had recently been charged with robbing a blind woman. According to retired Pritchard police captain, the robbery charge against Thomas was later thrown out of court due to some technicalities. Police questioned Thomas about the murder. However, his family provided him with an alibi and claimed he had been home at the time the shooting occurred.
Of
So,
course.
so I guess like right before this happened, Thomas and his friends had been like playing with a stolen handgun. A witness had later said that they had taken a bullet from the revolver, held it up, and stated it would soon kill somebody. Police later revealed that Haynes had spoken with Thomas about this behavior, which is why they suspected he killed her. But Thomas was never brought to trial for the murder. Reasons for him to want to kill her. I mean, she called him out, and unfortunately, everything was thrown out, so they were never able, at this time, to get to the bottom of that.
Okay.
After this, Thomas joined the United States Air Force as an airman. He was stationed at Air Force Base near Colorado Springs, Colorado. On October 25th, 1965, Thomas attacked 22-year-old Rose Covington, who was in the Women's Air Force program. He beat her unconscious with a metal ashtray in the finance office of the Air Force Base. Rose suffered severe head and facial injuries and was hospitalized for 2 months. At the trial, she testified that she had never even met him and didn't even know what he looked like. An FBI laboratory expert testified that the shoe prints left at the crime scenes, in fact, matched Thomas's. I mean, obviously, he continued to deny the attack until he was ultimately convicted of assault with intent to commit murder on March 14, 1966, and was sentenced to 20 years in prison with hard labor. He was also reduced in rank, ordered to forfeit all pay, and dishonorably discharged from the Air Force. In
So,
1970,
so like hard labor, so like he's in prison and they're making him work.
yeah.
Okay.
In 1970, his sentence was reduced to 10 years for good behavior. And on November 28th, 1973, he was granted parole.
Of
Mm-hmm.
course, of
Oh,
course.
I mean, if my math is mathing, March 14th, 1966 until November 28th, 1973 is only 7 years.
Yeah, not even the
Yeah, quite shy of that 20 years.
yeah.
Just bring someone with a metal ashtray and hospitalize them for a couple months. Fine. Well, guess what happens next? On November 21st, 1975, while Thomas should still be incarcerated,
Right.
28-year-old Patricia Hitt, a mother of two who worked at a convenience store in Mobile County, Alabama, beating her and fatally shooting her in the head. Initially, two other men were arrested for the crime, and then on October 16th, 1976, again, while Thomas should still be locked up, he kidnapped and murdered another female convenience store clerk worker in Mobile, 44-year-old Venora Hyatt. He kidnapped her from the convenience store, took her to an old house, murdered her, and dumped her body near an abandoned shack in Mobile. The following day, he returned to the crime scene and mutilated her body, took her wristwatch, which he later gifted to his wife. So I guess he would take like little trinkets from his victims and he would gift them to his wife. They'd be like jewelry and watches.
How grossed out would she be when she found this out?
Yeah, just like little treats, how thoughtful of him.
Oh, gross.
Then on October 16th, 1976, Thomas abducted 23-year-old Cheryl Lynn Payton, a convenience store clerk who worked at a compact store in Mobile County. Whisenhant kidnapped her at gunpoint and drove her to a remote wooded area where he raped her in the front seat of his pickup truck and then killed her by fatally shooting her in the head with a .32 caliber pistol. He dragged her body to nearby woods before fleeing. The next day, Thomas returned to the crime scene to mutilate Cheryl's body. He cut off a large portion of her breast and slashed her abdomen. However, he was spotted near the crime scene, and after a chase, he was captured by police. Finally. So during his interrogation, he gave a detailed confession to all the crimes. So not only did he confess to murdering Peyton and mutilating her body, but he had also admitted to murdering both Hitt and Hyatt in the months prior. He later admitted to murdering Haynes, the lady, when he was 16.
Yeah.
Whisenhant also confessed to the assaults on Covington and attacking two other women, including his wife. During the trials, Thomas pleaded not guilty by reasons of insanity.
Uh-huh.
On, on August 9th, the jury found him guilty of capital murder. On September 7th, he was sentenced to death. Okay, so from my understanding, Thomas had been diagnosed as schizophrenic by multiple psychologists throughout his life.
Okay. So he is crazy.
Yes. So the insanity plea wasn't like too far off, but it's always insanity.
Right.
So yeah. Also on a side note, in September 1977, Verona Hyatt's son, 26-year-old Kenneth Lynn Curry, kidnapped and robbed a taxi driver. He later claimed he committed the crime so he could go to prison and avenge his mother's death by killing Thomas.
Oh, Jesus.
So Thomas avoided execution for more than 3 decades due to successful appeals and prosecutorial error. In November 2009, Assistant Attorney General Clay Crenshaw filed a motion asking the Supreme Court of Alabama to set an execution date for Whisenhant. He was scheduled for execution on May 27th, 2010. And then on May 27, 2010, Thomas consumed his last meal of chicken leg quarters, french fries, American cheese, orange drink, coffee, and chocolate pudding. He declined the statement and was executed via lethal injection at Holman Correctional Facility, spending, are you ready? 32 years, 8 months, and 28 days on death row, which at that time was the longest that any prisoner had ever spent on death row in Alabama. bringing this awful case to an end.
32 years the taxpayers had to feed and clothe and shelter him.
32 years, 8 months. So,
I can't even like
yeah.
appeal is like good for the people that actually are innocent and all those things, but like 32 years?
Like, basically an entire lifetime. Just hanging
Ugh.
out, eating chicken leg quarters, apparently, and pudding.
I thought the whole point of the death penalty was to like put the person to death so you don't have to keep paying for them.
Well, it takes a long time, apparently.
Boy.
Yeah.
Well, Daniel Lee Siebert was born June 17th, 1954 in Mattoon, Illinois. Siebert was physically and sexually abused by his own father.
Mm.
His mother finally left when he was around 11, but she quickly got a new boyfriend, and his parents got divorced sometime in that time of her leaving and getting this new boyfriend. Siebert got into drugs and prostitution after that, and he couldn't relate to his peers and eventually ended up running away and turning to prostitution for money because he had to be able to pay for stuff. In 1972, he tried to straighten out and join the Marines. He wanted to be the alpha male. However, he enlisted using the name Daniel Marlowe. He was dishonorably discharged within a year for going on leave without permission. Just took a vacation, you know? From 72 to 78, there are multiple drug and battery charges against him. And in 1979, Siebert was living in Las Vegas and dating a man, and this relationship was said to be very abusive. It kind of sounds like on both their ends. Siebert ended it by fatally stabbing his partner 29 times.
Wow.
That's some rage. I just want to point that out.
Oops, I fell 29 times.
He was charged with manslaughter, not murder, because of this, because he said it was self-defense, and he ended up getting sentenced to 10 years. He served 2 of those years.
Of course.
But he was not released. He escaped, kidnaps a woman at gunpoint in San Francisco, and then she escapes him by jumping out of a moving vehicle while they're going over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Oh, wow. You guys should be pretty terrified to jump out of a moving vehicle, especially on the Golden Gate Bridge, a
Yeah,
massive
isn't that
bridge.
like super high up in the air? I've never seen it, but like, isn't it super high up in the air?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, no, she was like, I'll take my chances, right? Like, screw that.
Here I go.
Siebert was captured the next day, so she ran and got help, and a year was added to his sentence for fleeing.
Oh, a whole year?
Yeah, a whole year was added to his sentence for fleeing. Now, mind you, there's still the kidnapping charge that he has against him. They haven't dealt with that yet. So Siebert was paroled in 1985, and he never returned for that assault charge.
Oh, of course not.
He started walking because he doesn't have any friends, family, nobody. And someone stops and offers him a ride. He claimed that his name was Daniel Spence and that he was an artist. The driver was going to Tucson, Arizona, and Siebert said he was going that way too.
There was.
So they became friendly on the drive, and this other man offers him a job at the school for the deaf and blind where this guy runs the school. He would be able to be an art teacher. However, it's a volunteer thing, so they're not getting paid to be at the school to teach these kids. But he knows that Siebert is going to need money, so he offers to commission him to do a mural on the wall at the school. This is where he meets Sherry Weathers, a deaf mother of 2. On February 24th, 1986, Sherry hasn't turned up to the school in a week, so now that they know she's missing. So,
Guy.
in the middle of the night, Siebert wakes up the 2 boys and then strangles them. He wanted them to feel fear, know that they were going to die. The detectives end up finding the boys and the mother all in the hallway, placed on top of each other in a cross pattern. While on the scene, detectives are called about another teacher who didn't show up that day. Her name is Linda Jarman. She happened to live kitty corner in a different apartment from this mom. So they go over there to check it out and they find her strangled in her own bed. Siebert has stole her VCR for money to travel and her car is also missing. So now they know that he's stolen her car and this VCR for money. So they're trying to find him, but they go to his apartment to see what clues they can find. And while at his apartment building, they don't find him, but they do discover another missing woman named Linda Overman. She's been missing for 2 days.
Inside of his apartment?
No, he lived in an apartment complex, and well, when they go there, they talk to Linda Overman's boyfriend, and he's like, "Oh, he hasn't been here, but also my girlfriend's missing, and she's been missing for a couple days. I can't find her anywhere."
Oh, wow.
So in Elizabethtown, Kentucky, they found the missing car on a campsite and they find items from all the victims. They found an address book that was in the car, and that's how they actually end up eventually tracking him down. He was in New Jersey on the run, and he ends up stabbing a hospitality worker for her cash while he's there. He corners her and stabs her in this like empty room. Stabbed her twice and then strangled her to death, all for the cash in her pocket.
Which was what, like $10?
It doesn't say, but yeah, I mean, like 1980 something, right? Like if she was carrying $100, I'd be shocked, right?
Yeah.
On March 1986, another victim was discovered at the cemetery, and they find out this is Linda Overman. So this is the one that was missing from his apartment complex. And they also realized that was actually his first victim. He had killed her first. So he has now, they realize, killed 5 people in one day. Linda Overman, Sherry Weathers, her 2 children, and the other Linda that lived a kitty corner across the hall.
That's a busy day right
Yeah, I
there.
mean, girl, I wouldn't have time to do what, 5 people? Like, what are you doing? So part of the reason they couldn't find him on this manhunt that they're doing now, he's been in jail for 61 days in New Jersey for assault. But he used the name Chad Weathers, which is one of the victims. And then in June in 1986, he was jailed in Virginia for car theft. So they're still looking for him. But he uses the name Joey Weathers, the brother, the other victim.
Oh, wow. That's gross.
Yeah, gross, gross, gross. An ex-girlfriend ends up cracking the case by giving them the info he gave her at the time. So he like calls her up and tells her all the stuff that's going on. They end up finding out he's in Hurricane Hills, Tennessee. They get there and they find out that he's been doing painting because he really was an artist, okay? He wasn't lying. That part was the only truthful part. So he's painting these like signs because that's what they did back then, right? This is how you advertise. You get somebody to do these signs for you. And so he's painting these signs up and he's done the work for the guy. And the guy calls him up and says, "Yeah, I got your money. Bring the signs. Come." And when he gets there, they finally arrest him. He talked about the 5 killings on February of 1986 and the killing of Retrice McDonald. He showed zero remorse while they're questioning him. Like, he didn't give one iota that he killed these people.
Ivan, one day, what time do you have for remorse? 0.
Zero remorse. Not like, "I'm sorry," not "I wanted to be caught," not anything. So at this time, they've now, like, all the psychologists are like, "Yeah, he's a psychopath." No duh.
Exactly.
Killed 5 people in one day. He ends up confessing to another murder of Cheryl Evans. He robbed her and then killed her. What they end up finding in his apartment is this map of the US. And on this map are X's and X's with circles on them. Every place there's an X with a circle is somewhere he's killed someone. If there's an X, he robbed somebody. So there's hundreds of X's and circles and X's, right? He has a ton of victims that they're never going to know about because he refused to even talk about it. Half the people, it sounds like he couldn't even remember exactly what happened or even know what their names were. So he confesses to killing 3 sex workers in Nevada in 1985, and he did admit to 13 murders total. They did connect him to 10 of those 13 that he admitted to. The other 3, there wasn't enough evidence to even connect him to.
Like, there's just so many, like, you can't even remember.
And there's other ones that he just can't even remember, and they don't have enough evidence to connect him to anything else. So they do end up convicting him. What they do is they break it up into a couple different trials. So there's 3 trials over a 5-month period. And the first trial, he was convicted of all 5 murders and sentenced to death twice. He was on death row for 21 years, and he ended up dying of pancreatic cancer on April 27th, 2008. He didn't even make it to the electric chair.
Wow.
He was going through the appeal process and trying to do all the things right. I think he was trying to get out of the death row sentence and just get life in prison.
Well, I mean, it turned into life, I guess.
Yeah, yes, because he ended up dying anyways. So yeah, that is my serial killer who went on a killing spree.
That was a lot of X's and circles that he just could not even. I don't know.
Couldn't even account for.
It was just a busy year. I don't remember.
And they'll just never know because I mean if technology becomes a certain step someday, they might be able to connect him to some of these other murders and crimes that happened, especially in the areas that he's got X's and circles. But at this time, there's no person to corroborate any of this information. He's not here to confess anymore. So that is an end to that case.
Wow. Well, let us finish this off with a little bit of the unexplained. Have you ever heard of the Alabama White Thing? I know I hadn't. I mean, I've heard of Yetis, Bigfoot, even Sasquatch. However, Alabama seems to have their own version, and it's named the White Thing. Multiple sightings have been reported over the decades. So basically, it's described as a red glowing eyed Sasquatch. Some have also said like a deer or bear. It's even been described as like a big cat. I can imagine how it all came, like how it got its name, though. Ma'am, can you describe what you saw? Well, sir, it was a big, hairy, white thing with glowing red eyes. Y'all ever seen this white thing? Maybe you know someone or know someone that knows someone? Let us know. We're interested.
Definitely interested. We would like to thank you for joining us in our discoveries of Alabama this week. Please join us next week while we travel to Alaska. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss our adventures next week into killers, psychos, and the unexplained.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.